Session and player management. Typically, newer players will not host sessions, but it is always good to know some of the basics of how a session is set up and what to look for when searching for a game. From the main menu, choose Mission Select. From the matchmaking screen, select the Create Match option. The Mission Select screen allows you to choose the map on which to play as well as the game type. Missions are selected by scrolling up or down using the D-pad of a standard Xbox controller or the left stick thumb hat of the Steel Battalion controller. Using the D-pad left or right and the thumb hat left-right controls will change the game type. 99% of all missions are played using the Conquest game type, so we will use that example here. Select a mission map using the A button of a standard Xbox controller or the main weapon button of the Steel Battalion controller. You can cancel an option anytime by using the B button or the lock-on button of the Steel Battalion controller. The Create Match dialog allows you to configure the specific parameters of a game session. Each of the options has a related hint which is displayed at the bottom of the screen. Some of these aren't very informative, so I'll go through each one of them below. Own Base, HSD or PRF, lets you set the starting position of the side you'll participate on. This will result in a different map starting position depending on whether you choose attacker or defender. The attacker and defender options allow you to specify which team starts as a defender or attacker. This control works in conjunction with the Own Base control to decide your starting position on the map. Maximum number of attacker and maximum number of defenders. These options let you set the expected number of players you want to be able to join your session. You may be tempted to leave these at the default 5 and 5, but do not. The selections made here tell the game the minimum connection requirement criteria that each player must meet when attempting to join your session. Because the connection demands for a 10-player game are so high, selecting 5 versus 5 may result in the creation of a game session to which nobody can connect. A safe maximum player setting is a total of no more than 6. You can divide this up between the sides as you see fit, for example 2 versus 4, but for typical games you want to keep the sides balanced. Time limit actually controls whether there are time limits to the pre-sorted room and VT configuration before the actual start of a mission. If set to yes, the players have 2 minutes to pick a VT and 2 minutes to configure the weapons loadout for it. If set to no, then there are no time limits imposed on these steps. For a new player, I would suggest setting this to no to allow more time to select the correct VT and loadout. The playtime setting lets you decrease the overall available time for a mission. Since most missions won't go past 20 to 30 minutes anyway, you can set this where you like, but I find that limiting the time to 30 minutes keeps missions from crossing over from epic session to boredom. An hour-long game may sound like fun, but not being able to take a break and the high tension this game can instill will become tiring. The time of day setting gives you basic control over the lighting and weather conditions of the session. Options available are daytime, evening, night, and same as campaign. The first 3 options are self-explanatory. The last option refers to the conditions under which the mission was presented in the now defunct campaign mode. Same as campaign is typically similar to one of the other options, but with minor variations in weather, visibility, and lighting. Note that if night is chosen, maps will be almost entirely devoid of light, necessitating the use of the night scope option. The friendly fire option does exactly what it sounds like. When set to no, you cannot damage your teammates with your weapons. Set to yes, you can. By default, this is set to no, and 95% of the games are played this way. This was the default setting for campaign mode. Strategic points by factors is essentially a multiplier for the initial sortie points of each team. I explained this in more detail earlier in the tutorial, but you can get more information from my site lineofcontact.net. Typically any value between 1 and 3 is good, anything above becomes redundant. Sortie cost was also explained earlier in the tutorial, but to review, this setting controls the maximum possible sorties each player can use in the game session. Room status allows you to control how users enter the session. Changing this to restricted will prompt the room host, you, for a dialog for each player that attempts to join. This dialog will give information about the joining player's connection quality and pilot details, and it also allows the room host the ability to admit or deny players. Setting this to open lets all players join. Typically, I will set this to restricted so I can control the entry of players with poorer quality connections until after all the others have joined. Choosing the Create button at the bottom starts the sortie room session. Once a sortie room session has been created, players will attempt to join. If you have set the room status to restricted, you will be presented with a dialog for each player who wants to join. After the room has filled, you select Begin to start the game. Starting a chat room is similar to starting a mission session, but with fewer options. The option to create a chat room is accessed under the Neutral Zone option from the main menu. From there, select the options that you want your chat room to have. Setting up your chat room to restricted will prompt you as the host to allow or deny entry into the session. You can set your chat room up for either chat or trade purpose option. There is no difference in the available functions. Unlike setting up a game session, chat rooms should be set up for the maximum 10-person limit unless you have a specific reason not to. Finally, I want to cover a few of the Xbox Live matchmaking controls as they pertain to line of contact. As mentioned earlier in the video, the standard Xbox controller is used for accessing live matchmaking and friends list features, as well as being an interface for the Xbox communicator. At any point after connecting to Xbox Live from within line of contact, you can access your friends list by pressing the Start button on the Xbox controller. The D-pad then lets you access your friends list, recent players list, and voice control features. If you receive an invite from a friend while in line of contact, it will show up as a blinking circle with the envelope icon in the right top of the screen. By accessing your friends list, you may choose to join the friend game session or refuse the invite. The best way to find games in line of contact is to try and build a friends list of regular players. When you receive a friends request, it will show up in the top right corner of the screen as a circle with an arrow inside it. If you then access your friends list, you can accept the invite and add the gamer tag to your friends list. You can send the friends list invite to any player on your recent players list by selecting their name and choosing the Send Invite option. How to find players in games. In addition to using the Xbox Live friends list matchmaking features, you can search for games in line of contact using the built-in OptiMatch feature. From the main menu, select the Mission Select. Select the OptiMatch option for the matchmaking search screen. If you like, change the OptiMatch search options, but typically leave all of these set at their default and click Search. If there are any game sessions that have not filled, they will show in the OptiMatch results. You can then select a session you would like to participate and join.